There's a thunder god who drinks poison to stop the world from ending. ... A goddess who gives birth to the universe, then eats her own children. And an underworld spirit who wears a hat made of screaming souls. These are not movie plots. These are ancient myths real people believed. If you're into myths, legends, and the unbelievable stories ancient people thought were true, this is the place. Today, we're diving into 10 insane mythology facts that sound fake but aren't. Let's get into it. Chapter 1. The universe was made from a dead giant in the beginning. There was no sun, no sky, no earth, just endless ice and fire. In this vast emptiness, Norse mythology says the first living being emerged, a massive, ancient giant named Ymir. He was not born like you and me. Ymir formed from the melting ice of Niflheim, where the freezing cold met the fiery heat of Muspelheim. From the sweat of his armpits, more giants were born. His legs mated and birthed others. This was chaos, not creation. But then came Odin. Alongside his brothers Vili and Odin knew that for a world to be born, something had to die. They attacked Ymir, and after a brutal battle, they struck him down. Ymir's death was not the end. It was the beginning. From his massive corpse, they began to craft the world. His blood became the seas and oceans, flooding the land and drowning the rest of the frost giants. His flesh became the soil and earth beneath our feet. His bones formed the mountain ranges. His teeth and jaw became boulders and rocks. His hair stretched out as forests. Then they lifted his gigantic skull into the heavens. This would become the sky. But what holds it up? For dwarves named North, South, East, and West, keep it steady, standing at the corners of the world, and those drifting clouds you see every day. According to the myth, those are pieces of Ymir's brain. Even the stars were placed in the sky by Odin, crafted from fire and sparks taken from Muspelheim to light the night above the dead giant's skull. So the next time you look at the night sky, try to imagine it not as a calm and quiet dome of stars, but as the hollowed-out skull of the first being ever to die. The Norse didn't see the universe as a peaceful beginning. They saw it as something that had to be fought for. Life for them was born from death, and that belief shaped everything else in their mythology. Creation through violence, balance through sacrifice. A world literally built from the bones of giants. But that's just one myth. Other cultures have their own wild origin stories. Some began with chaos, others began with gods tearing each other apart. But they all share one strange idea, that life and death are deeply connected. That the world we walk on is the result of something powerful, dying to make room for us. And in the Norse vision, the price was paid by Ymir, a being older than time, too big to exist forever. It's too dangerous to leave alive. One final detail makes this even more chilling. The frost giants, born from Ymir's body, were not completely wiped out. Some survived. They lurk in the edges of the world in the land of Jotunheim, always waiting to strike back at the gods who betrayed their father, and that revenge. It is prophesied to come at the end of all things. Targ. So in a way, the Norse creation story is not just about the beginning. It is also a warning. The universe came from death, and it might end in the same way. Ready for more mythology facts that sound too insane to be true? Let's move to ancient Egypt, where the sun god is trapped in an endless battle every single night. Chapter 2. The Egyptian sun god fights a chaos serpent every night. Imagine this. The sun sets, and darkness falls across the land. But for the ancient Egyptians, this was not just the end of the day. It was the beginning of a terrifying cosmic journey. Every single night, the sun god Ra climbed aboard his divine boat, known as the solar bark, and descended into the Duatha Egyptian underworld. But he wasn't alone. With him sailed other gods and guardians ready to face what came next. Because this journey was far from peaceful. Lurking in the shadows of the underworld was a serpent so massive, so ancient, it was said to stretch the entire length of the horizon. Its name was Apep, the embodiment of chaos. Apep was not like other monsters. He didn't want to rule or conquer. He simply wanted to unmake everything. His goal was pure destruction, total obliteration of order, light, and life. So each night, as Ra sailed through the darkest hours, Apep attacked. The serpent would rise from the depths of the Duat, twisting through the darkness, hissing with rage. the boat rocked. The gods readied their weapons. And Ra, carrying the fire of the sun, stood at the center of it all. This was not just myth, it was a nightly ritual in the minds of the Egyptian people. Temples would hold prayers to help Ra survive. Priests would recite protective spells. Stakes couldn't be higher, because if Ra ever lost, the sun would not rise again. The world would fall into permanent darkness. Life itself would vanish. But Ra always fought back. Sometimes he was helped by the cat goddess Bastet, or the fierce lioness Sekhmet. Other times he used sheer will and fire to burn Apep into retreat. And every morning when the sun rose once more over the desert sands, the Egyptians knew Ra had won. Light had triumphed again, if only for one more day. What made this myth so powerful was what it represented. Ra and Apep were not just gods. They were symbols of the endless battle between order and chaos. The rhythm of sunrise and sunset was a cycle of survival, not routine. Dawn was a victory. And unlike many myths, this battle never ends. There is no final defeat, no eternal peace. Just an endless war that reminds us how fragile light can be and how close chaos always is. There's also something deeply human in the image of Ra, battered and weary, sailing through darkness. Knowing the same serpent waits every time. He doesn't quit. He doesn't rest. He just keeps going, because the world depends on him. In a way, Ra became more than just a god. He became a reflection of the people themselves, struggling through their own darkness, fighting their own battles, hoping that light will rise again. This idea of cosmic battle repeats in many mythologies, but few capture the feeling of dread and hope like this one. It shows us that mythology isn't just fantasy. It's how people made sense of fear, survival, and the cycles of life. Now, let's leave the deserts of Egypt and move to another ancient civilization. One where death doesn't just come for you, rules everything. We travel to the Greek underworld, where the god of the dead waits silently, but not without justice. Chapter 3. Aztec gods burned themselves to power the sun. After surviving the nightly battle between Ra and the Chaos Serpent, we arrive at a place where even gods bleed to bring light to the world. The Aztecs believed in a universe built from sacrifice. Life and death were never opposites in their mythology. They were partners. Creation always required destruction. In the beginning, according to Aztec myth, the world was cold and dark. The gods had gathered to choose who among them would become the next sun. But there was a problem. Being the sun meant one thing: complete fiery self-sacrifice. The gods stepped forward. The first was Tekusiticatl, proud and wealthy, dressed in the finest feathers and jewels. He wanted the glory of lighting the world. The second was Nanawatson, humble, poor, and covered in sores. He had no riches, only devotion. At the appointed time, both gods stood before a massive bonfire. The flames rose high, and the world watched. Tekusiticatl tried first. He approached the fire once, and stepped back. He tried again, and backed away in fear. 4 times he failed. Then Nanawatson stepped forward. Quietly, with no hesitation, he jumped into the fire. He was engulfed, burned, gone. The flames roared, and in the sky, a new sun appeared, blazing bright. Nanawatson had become Tonatiuh, the 5th son of the Aztec world. Ashamed by his cowardice, Tekusiticatl finally leapt into the fire. He, too, rose into the sky. But only as the moon, pale, dim, forever second best. But the story does not end there. Even after their sacrifice, the sun did not move, just hung in the sky, frozen. The other gods realized what had to be done. They too would offer themselves. One by one, they gave their lives so that the sun could move, bringing day and night to the world. This moment became the center of Aztec belief. Universe ran on sacrifice. Without it, the sun would stop, darkness would return, and life would end. This is why the Aztecs performed human sacrifices. They were not acts of cruelty for cruelty's sake. They were cosmic duties, sacred transactions. Every drop of blood spilled was an offering to Tonatiuh, the burning sun god who had once thrown himself into the fire. Every beating heart was a gift to keep him alive, to keep the world in motion. It is hard for us to imagine today's ritual death as a life-giving act, but for the Aztecs, it was a necessity. The gods had sacrificed themselves. Humans were expected to do the same in return. The great temples of Tenochtitlan were not only religious centers, they were engines of the universe. And at the top of those blood-soaked pyramids, priests lifted hearts to the sky, calling out to Tonashu, assuring the sun would rise again. There is something deeply haunting in this myth. It is both horrifying and beautiful. A universe built not from ease or peace, but from courage, pain, and sacrifice. In many cultures, gods are eternal, and in Aztec belief, even gods had to die so that others could live. From self-immolating deities to rivers of human blood, the Aztec view of life and death was intensely raw and real. And it reminds us how differently ancient people saw the world. But now, let's take a colder path away from sun and fire. We descend into shadows once more, into the quiet realm of the Greek underworld, where the god of the dead waits not with rage but with silence. Chapter 4. Hindu time spans are billions of years long as we move from the fiery sun sacrifices of the Aztecs. We now enter a world where time flows not in hours or centuries, but in unimaginable spans stretching across billions of years. Hindu mythology reveals a universe so vast and ancient, it makes modern science's Big Bang seem like a blink. At the center of this cosmic vision stands Brahma, the creator god, whose life and work define the rhythm of time itself. According to Hindu beliefs, one day in the life of Brahma lasts 4.3 billion years. To put that in perspective, that is roughly the age of our Earth. Imagine a single day for this god is as long as our entire planet has existed. But the scale does not stop there. 1,000 of Brahma's days make up 1 year for him. So, when we think of 1 year, it is not a few hundred days, but billions and billions of years stretched into one. Now, what happens when Brahma dies? This is where Hindu mythology truly transcends human understanding. At the end of Brahma's life, an almost incomprehensible 311 trillion years, the entire universe collapses. Stars, planets, gods, all of existence folds into nothingness. But this is not the end. After this cosmic collapse, a new universe is born again in a continuous cycle. This cycle of creation, preservation, and destruction repeats endlessly. This cycle is called a kalpa, and it measures time in an entirely different way from the linear clocks we use. A kalpa is so vast that even the Big Bang, the scientific event often described as the beginning of our universe, feels brief in comparison. Ancient India was not just imagining gods living forever. They were thinking on a scale so large, it challenges even modern science. This profound understanding shows that Hindu mythology is more than stories. It is a meditation on time, life, death, and rebirth on a cosmic scale. The cycles of the universe reflect cycles within ourselves: birth, death, and rebirth. This idea connects deeply with Hindu and Buddhist beliefs about karma and reincarnation. That life is a wheel turning endlessly, where actions have consequences beyond a single lifetime. Also, while the Aztecs saw sacrifice as necessary to keep the sun alive, the Hindus saw time itself as a living being's breath. A god's day, a god's lifetime, endless cycles spinning through eternity. This perspective reminds us how ancient cultures tried to make sense of the infinite. They gave the universe a rhythm, a heartbeat measured not by clocks or calendars, but by gods and cosmic cycles. And this grand view invites us to think beyond our brief lives. It invites us to see ourselves as part of something larger, stretching through vast time and endless rebirth. From the brutal sun sacrifices of the Aztecs to the vast cosmic cycles of Hinduism, these myths reveal different ways humans have wrestled with the mystery of existence. Next, we'll explore a god who guides souls after death in these very cycles: Yama, the Lord of Death in Hindu and Buddhist traditions, who balances judgment, mercy, and karma. Stay with me. Chapter 5. A Chinese goddess lives on the moon with a rabbit as we journey from the vast cosmic cycles of Hindu mythology. Let us turn our gaze upward to the glowing moon and explore a beautiful, haunting story from Chinese mythology. This is the tale of Change, the Chinese goddess of the moon, whose story blends love, betrayal, immortality, and loneliness in a way that has touched generations. Change was married to Hu Yi, a great archer and hero. Long ago, there were 10 suns blazing fiercely in the sky, scorching the earth with unbearable heat. Hu Yi saved humanity by shooting down 9 of those suns, leaving only one to provide light and warmth. As a reward for his heroic deed, the gods gifted Hu Yi an elixir of immortality, a magical potion that granted eternal life. This elixir was meant to be shared between Hu Yi and Change, so they could live forever together. But fate had other plans. One day, while Hu Yi was away, Change took the elixir all for herself. Some say she did it to protect the potion from falling into the wrong hands. Others believe it was a desperate act driven by loneliness or fear. No matter the reason, the result was the same. Change drank the elixir and immediately began to float upward, rising higher and higher until she reached the moon. There she remains to this day, immortal but isolated. She is not alone, however. Her only companion on the moon is a mysterious jade rabbit. According to the myth, this rabbit is constantly pounding herbs with a mortar and pestle, working tirelessly to create more of the elixir of life. The jade rabbit symbolizes purity, immortality, and the hope for renewal. Every year during the Madadam festival, families across China and other parts of Asia gather to admire the full moon. They tell the story of Change and Hu Yi, a tale of love that was broken but never forgotten. As they look up at the glowing moon, they remember Change's sacrifice and her lonely existence in the stars. This festival is not just about harvest and reunion. It is a time to reflect on love, loss, and the longing for eternal connection. Change's story resonates because it reflects a very human experience. Love can bring great joy, but also deep sorrow and sacrifice. Her ascent to the moon is both beautiful and tragic, a reminder that immortality can come with loneliness. This myth also highlights the connection between humans and the natural world, linking the cycles of the moon to the rhythms of life and death, love and loss. The story of Change has inspired countless poems, songs, and works of art in Chinese culture. It even shapes modern celebrations with mooncakes, lanterns, and family gatherings marking the occasion. From the cold, distant gods of cosmic time to the intimate tale of a goddess living with a rabbit on the moon, these myths show how cultures around the world use stories to explain life's mysteries. Next, we will explore another fascinating god of death, Yama, who judges souls and governs the cycle of reincarnation in Hindu and Buddhist beliefs. Stay curious, and let these stories remind you how powerful and diverse the human imagination truly is. Chapter 6. The Greek god of fear was real. After hearing about Change and her lonely life on the moon, let's step back into ancient Greece, where the gods often mirrored human emotions in their purest forms. One of the most fascinating figures was Phobos, the Greek god of fear. Unlike the mighty Olympians you may be familiar with, Phobos was not a god you worshipped in temples or praised with prayers. Instead, he was fear itself, an unseen force that gripped the hearts of warriors and common people alike. Phobos was the son of 2 powerful deities, Ares, the god of war, and Aphrodite, the goddess of love and beauty. This unlikely pairing produced a god who embodied the terrifying, paralyzing feeling of fear that strikes before battle. But Phobos was more than just a symbol. The Greeks believed he was a real presence on the battlefield. Before a fight began, soldiers would whisper stories about Phobos appearing among them. His shadow was said to spread panic, causing armies to falter and flee. His power was not in wielding weapons or casting spells, but in the chilling sense of dread he planted deep in the minds of men. This fear could make even the bravest warriors lose their nerve. In fact, Phobos was so closely linked to the feeling of fear that his very name is the origin of the word phobia. From simple fears to irrational terrors, this ancient god's influence still echoes in the language we use today. Interestingly, unlike other gods who demanded offerings and temples, Phobos had none. There were no grand festivals in his honor, no statues in magnificent sanctuaries. Instead, he lived in the whispers of soldiers, in the pounding heartbeats of those facing the unknown. He was an invisible force, felt more than seen, a reminder of how fear can control and shape human behavior. His presence highlights an important truth about ancient mythology. Gods were not always figures of hope and protection. Some, like Phobos, personified the darker parts of human experience. They helped explain why people felt certain emotions, and how those emotions influenced life and death. Fear is universal and timeless. It protects us by warning of danger, but but it can also trap us in paralysis and despair. The Greeks understood this dual nature by giving fear its own god, making it something both powerful and personal. Phobos often accompanied his father Ares into battle, showing that war was not just about strength and courage, but also about overcoming the terrifying emotions that come with it. This makes Phobos one of the most human gods, because fear is something everyone faces. Whether in ancient battlefields or modern life, his influence extends beyond mythology into literature, psychology, and everyday speech. When you hear words like arachnophobia or claustrophobia, you are speaking the language of Phobos, the ancient god whose shadow still stretches across time. Understanding Phobos gives us a glimpse into how the Greeks made sense of fear. Instead of denying it, they gave it form and name, acknowledging its power over human minds and hearts. So, the next time you feel a wave of panic or dread, remember Phobos, the god of fear who walks silently beside warriors and ordinary people alike. From the silent terror on the battlefield, our journey through myths of death and darkness continues. Next, we will explore the mysterious and chilling stories of Shinigami, the Japanese spirits of death who balance peace and vengeance. Stay with me and keep your curiosity alive. Chapter 7. The Mayan gods made humans out of corn after exploring the fearsome presence of Phobos. The Greek god of fear, we travel to the dense jungles and ancient cities of the Maya civilization, where gods created humans from something truly unexpected: corn. In Mayan mythology, the gods wanted to create humans who could worship them, honor the earth, and maintain balance in the world. Their first attempts were far from perfect. The gods first tried to make humans out of mud. But the mud people were weak and fragile. They fell apart easily, unable to stand or speak or live like real humans. Not discouraged, the gods tried again. This time they shaped humans from wood. These wooden people could move and talk, but they had no soul. They lacked the spark of life that made them truly human. Because of this, the wooden humans were cold and unfeeling, and the gods destroyed them for their failure to honor their creators properly. Finally, the gods found success by using maize dough, corn dough. This was no ordinary corn. To the Maya, corn was sacred, the essence of life itself. It was the food that sustained their bodies, and according to their belief, it also gave humans their spirit and soul. By crafting humans from maize, the gods didn't just create physical beings. They created a profound connection between people and the land. Humans were literally born from the food that nourished them. This made corn more than just a crop. It was sacred, divine, and alive. It was the foundation of life and culture. For the Maya, this story explained why corn was central to their society. It wasn't simply an agricultural product. It was a living symbol of their origin and identity. Corn shaped their rituals, their food, their festivals, and even their calendar. This myth highlights a beautiful idea. Humans are connected to nature in the deepest possible way. The Maya didn't see themselves as separate from the earth or its gifts. They understood that life depends on the cycles of growth, harvest, and renewal, all centered around corn. This sacred relationship shaped how the Maya lived and worshipped. They celebrated the planting and harvesting seasons with elaborate ceremonies, thanking the gods for their gifts and renewing their bond with the natural world. The maize dough humans also carried a spiritual significance. It was believed that the soul and body were intertwined with the cycles of maize growth. This created a powerful cultural identity, where to be human was to be part of an ongoing cycle of life, death, and rebirth tied to the land. So next time you see corn, remember it's not just a food. To the Maya, it was the very substance that made us human. This myth reminds us how cultures find meaning in their surroundings and create stories that teach respect for nature and life. As we continue exploring myths about life, death, and what comes after, we'll now travel to Japan, where the mysterious Shinigami watch over the spirits of the dead. Stay curious, because the next chapter uncovers the fascinating world of Japanese death spirits, blending ancient beliefs and modern stories. Keep watching to dive deeper into the world's most captivating myths. Chapter 8. Odin sacrificed his eye for wisdom. After exploring the sacred origins of humans in Mayan myth, we now journey north to the rugged lands of Norse mythology, where knowledge and sacrifice go hand in hand. At the heart of these stories is Odin, the all-father god known for his relentless quest for wisdom. Odin was no ordinary god. He was a seeker of secrets, a wanderer who valued understanding above power or riches. The story goes that Odin wanted to learn the deepest truths of the universe, the mysteries of fate, magic, and the very fabric of existence. The true knowledge came with a price. To gain this wisdom, Odin traveled to the Well of Mimir, a magical well that held the secrets of the cosmos. There, the guardian Mimir demanded a steep sacrifice for a single drink. Without hesitation, Odin plucked out his own eye and dropped it into the well. This was no casual trade. Odin gave up a vital part of himself, the eye that allowed him to see the world. But in return, he received profound insight and the ability to understand the forces shaping the future. From that day on, Odin walked the earth with only one eye. But he was never alone. Two ravens, Hugin and Munin, which mean thought and memory, flew across the world every day. They gathered news, stories, and secrets, and whispered everything back into Odin's ear. Odin's missing eye became a symbol of his sacrifice, showed that true wisdom often demands a personal cost. He didn't want to be the strongest or most feared god. He wanted to know, to comprehend the mysteries of life, death, and destiny. This sacrifice is powerful because it teaches a universal truth. Knowledge is not free. Sometimes it asks us to give up comfort, certainty, or even parts of ourselves. Odin's story reminds us that curiosity and courage can lead to great understanding, but also great sacrifice. Odin's quest didn't end with gaining one eye. He constantly sought knowledge through runes, magic, and journeys to other worlds. His wisdom made him a complex figure, both a fierce warrior and a wise teacher. The two ravens, thought and memory, represent how knowledge comes not only from seeing, but from remembering and reflecting. They remind us that understanding the world means paying attention to both the past and the present. Odin's story is one of the most enduring myths in the Norse tradition, because it reveals the human hunger for meaning, and the lengths we will go to satisfy it. So as you think about the gods and their powers, remember Odin's eye, what he was willing to lose to gain what no one else had. In the next chapter, we will explore another powerful myth, this time from Egypt. It tells of a god who battles darkness every night to ensure the sun will rise again. Stay tuned and keep your mind open. These ancient stories are more than just old tales. They show us how humans have grappled with the mysteries of life for thousands of years. Chapter 9. The Titans are still alive. Under volcanoes, after learning about Odin's sacrifice for wisdom, let's now descend deep into the ancient Greek myths, where the story of the Titans continues to rumble beneath the earth. Most people know the Titans as powerful giants who ruled before the Olympian gods, like Zeus, took over. But what happened to these mighty beings after their defeat? The Greeks believed that when Zeus and the Olympian gods overthrew the Titans, they didn't simply destroy them. Instead, the Titans were buried alive, imprisoned deep beneath the earth. They became prisoners of the very world they once ruled. One of the most fearsome Titans was Typhon. Described as a monstrous creature with 100 dragon heads and eyes flashing fire, Typhon was a terrifying force of nature. Zeus fought him in an epic battle and finally trapped him beneath Mount Etna, a famous volcano in Sicily. But this imprisonment was no peaceful rest. Every time Mount Etna erupts, the ancient Greeks believed it was not just molten rock pouring from the earth. It was Typhon's fury, his breath, and his desperate struggle to break free from his fiery prison. The shaking ground, the rumbling explosions, and the flowing lava were seen as signs of his rage. To the Greeks, volcanoes were not just natural disasters. They were alive, dangerous monsters trapped beneath the surface, always threatening to rise again. This myth made the terrifying power of volcanoes easier to understand, and gave people a story to explain the unpredictable, destructive forces of nature. The idea of the Titans still being alive under volcanoes shows how mythology connects the natural world with human imagination. It gives life and meaning to powerful and often frightening events. But the story goes beyond just Typhon. Other Titans were said to be trapped under various parts of the earth, locked away but still alive in some form. They were reminders of a chaotic time before the order of the Olympian gods. The Titan myth reflects a common theme in many cultures: the idea that ancient primal forces are hidden just beneath the surface, ready to erupt or return. It explains why people throughout history have felt both awe and fear toward the natural world. The Titan's story also symbolizes a battle between chaos and order, a theme we've seen throughout mythology. The Titans represented raw, untamed power, while Zeus and the Olympian gods brought structure and control. But even after their defeat, the old chaos never fully disappears. It simmers below, waiting. This myth continues to inspire today. Volcanoes still captivate us with their beauty and danger, and the image of a trapped monster struggling to escape is a powerful symbol in stories, movies, and art. So next time you hear about an eruption, imagine Typhon beneath the earth, breathing fire and fighting to break free. It's a reminder that the myths of the past still live on in the world around us, in the earth itself. In the next chapter, we will explore what these myths tell us about humanity, why we create stories about gods, monsters, and the forces beyond our control. These stories reveal more than just ancient beliefs. They show us how humans have always tried to make sense of life, death, and the unknown. Stay with me, because the final chapters bring everything together and reveal the deeper meaning behind these powerful myths. Chapter 10. A Persian dog decides your fate in the afterlife. After hearing how the mighty Titans still raged beneath volcanoes, our journey takes us to ancient Persia, where the fate of souls is decided not by gods or fearsome judges, but by a very unusual creature, a loyal dog with 4 eyes. In Persian mythology, the moment a person dies is just the beginning of their true journey. The soul must cross a mysterious place called the Bridge of the Separator. This bridge is the gateway between life and what lies beyond. But it is no ordinary bridge. It can either be wide and safe or sharp and deadly. Waiting at the edge of the bridge is a guardian, a strange and powerful dog called Sarub. What makes Sarub unique is that it has 4 eyes. 2 eyes see the world of the living, while the other 2 see into the spiritual realm, judging the soul that approaches. This 4-eyed dog is not a fierce beast meant to punish or scare. Instead, Sarab's role is to test the soul's worthiness based on how the person lived their life. The ancient Persians believed that the soul's fate depended on the balance of good and evil deeds performed in the mortal world. If the soul was righteous, the bridge of the separator magically widens, becoming broad and easy to cross. The soul steps over safely, moving toward a peaceful afterlife, full of light and joy. In this way, Sarub acts as a guide and protector, helping good souls reach their rightful place. But if the soul was wicked or unjust, the bridge narrows to a sharp edge, thin as a blade. Trying to cross becomes impossible, and the soul falls into a dark abyss below, into a hellish realm of punishment and suffering. What makes this story so fascinating is that the final judge of the soul is not a god or goddess, but a dog. The Persian mythology reminds us that judgment can come in many forms. It also highlights the importance of loyalty, guardianship, and honesty, qualities symbolized by the 4-eyed dog. This myth also reflects the Persian belief in free will and moral responsibility. Every person's choices matter, shaping not just their life, but their eternal destiny. The dog Sarub is a fair judge, not one to be feared but respected. The bridge of the separator and the 4-eyed dog symbolize the fragile line between life and death, justice and punishment, light and darkness. This vivid image helps us understand how ancient cultures made sense of life's final mystery. What stands out about this Persian story is its quiet power. Instead of terrifying monsters or fierce battles, the judgment here is calm, precise, and deeply personal. The idea that a loyal dog can decide your fate is unexpected and unique, showing how myths use animals and symbols to explain complex ideas about life, death, and morality. So, when you think about the afterlife in Persian mythology, picture a narrow bridge over endless space and a 4-eyed dog watching carefully. Your whole life's story weighs on your steps. Across all these myths, from Norse giants trapped beneath volcanoes to a dog deciding the soul's fate, we see one thing clearly. Humans have always tried to understand death and what might come after. They created gods, monsters, and guardians, to give shape to the unknown. These stories are more than ancient tales. They're reflections of our fears, hopes, and the endless questions about what happens when life ends. Now that we've explored these 10 incredible mythology facts, it's time to look at the big picture, what these myths tell us about who we are and why we keep telling these stories. In the final moments of this series, we'll wrap up the journey and invite you to think about which of these myths surprised or fascinated you the most. Because the stories of gods, giants, and four-eyed dogs aren't just entertainment. They are the timeless echoes of humanity's quest for meaning in a mysterious world. Stay with me for the final chapter, where we bring it all together and explore the powerful legacy of these myths. We've traveled through a world of incredible myths, gods of fear who haunt battlefields, sons born from burning sacrifices, and four-eyed dogs judging souls as they cross into the afterlife. From giant bodies shaping the universe to rabbits pounding immortality on the moon. These stories reveal the amazing creativity of ancient cultures trying to explain the unknown. These myths are much more than old tales. They show us how humans have always faced the mystery of life and death, light and darkness, fear and hope. They capture our deepest questions about who we are and what happens when our time ends. Some myths are terrifying, others are hopeful. Some are filled with fire and fury, others with quiet judgment. But all of them invite us to see the world through different eyes and to remember that we are part of a much larger story. Now, I want to hear from you. Which myths surprised you the most? Is it the Norse giant's body becoming the earth, the endless battle of the Egyptian sun god, or maybe the Persian dog deciding fate on a narrow bridge? Or do you know a myth even stranger or more fascinating? Share it in the comments. I read every message and might feature your story in a future video. If you love diving into the strange and wonderful world of mythology, be sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. There's so much more to explore, and I want you to come along for every epic adventure. Thanks for watching, and stay curious.